Hello, so I'm going to do another whiteboard video. So this is a bit like what we discussed on the stream, sort of COVID essentials, as in things you might need, if there's another coronavirus lockdown or local lockdowns in your area. So I'll go through them all. I'm sure there's good things on here that I've forgotten. But so first thing, mask, obviously, whether or not it's a proper mask or, like one of those little cloth ones, I'd obviously say go for a proper respirator, as you know. But the reason you want a proper mask is because it protects you as well as protecting other people. And obviously, because there's lots of people who just sneeze and cough everywhere, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I got it sort of low on the list, but I also say stuff like hand gel or hand, sanitizer near mask, just because, again, if there's dirty surfaces and shops and that aren't supplying you with, stuff to clean down trolleys or whatever, bear that in mind. So, food and water, canned food, frozen food, basically lots of long life food, because if there's lockdowns and food shortages from people panic buying, you're going to want obviously food and water. Water's probably less essential in a lot of places because I'm sure your tap water's fine, but in some places tap water isn't good, and stuff like that. So you might want a load of bottled water just in case. I'll include beer here because a lot of people ask me to include it, but obviously not that I'm encouraging people to drink because we've all been doing way too much of that in the last lockdown. But you know, whatever you need, But obviously, if you do have an alcohol dependence, then it's dangerous to suddenly stop drinking. So yeah. But most importantly, I'd say long life sort of stuff or canned food. Some people saying MREs, or you don't need to spend all the money on MREs, but the point is stuff that you can store easily that lasts for months or years, and you can eat it when you want. Pet food, if you've got pets, obviously you need pet food and the equivalent things for pets, just in case that's a problem. First aid, because obviously if hospitals are overwhelmed or lots of things are closed off and doctors' surgeries are closed, it makes sense that, if you get a cut or something, you can deal with it yourself rather than having to risk infection or just not being seen by somebody. Right, important one, medication and prescriptions. If you have an illness like me, chronic illness, make sure you get enough medication in advance because during the last lockdown, lots of things were strained and it meant certain medical sort of stuff I was meant to take, the pharmacies just couldn't get in through no fault of their own. There just wasn't enough about and they were sort of overworked. So yeah, make sure that you've got these things in advance because otherwise you could be in serious trouble if you just can't get a hold of stuff like that. Toilet roll, because obviously idiots panic bought loads of it last time, so make sure you've got a decent amount, if you don't have a bidet or bidet, whatever they're called, just because, you don't want to be in a situation where, you can't wipe your bum. Cleaning supplies, as I said above, but, just to make sure everything's sanitary and everything. That would also include things like bleach for toilets and whatever else. Because that was, I think bleach was selling out last time where people were panic buying loads of it. And I'll finish off with thermometers and pulse oximeters, things like that, so you can check, your symptoms more easily at home if you're worried that you do have corona. Now, I'm sure there was lots of things people came up with on the stream that I've not included, because some people are going more for like a doomsday scenario thing. This list is more just a sensible one. Again, I'm sure there's some pretty essential things I've forgotten on there, but the idea is basically with, like stuff like food and prescriptions, you make sure you've got enough of it beforehand because if you're suddenly thrust into a lockdown and then there's supply problems and people panic buying, you don't want to get caught short. So there you go. Hopefully this is a good list for people to go over. But and as well with masks, the price is already going up again of masks because people suddenly want them again, just as my YouTube views are going up on videos to do with masks. So yeah, make sure you end up getting your masks sooner rather than later if you already don't have a mask from the first lockdown, like an actual respirator style mask, because I imagine soon we're going to run into the exact same situation where people are price gouging them, and something like this will have gone from being, 20 to £30 a mask to being probably like 100 to 200 again, something silly like that. So yeah, make sure you get this stuff in advance if you can afford to, because you might be in a bit of a bad situation later on if we have local lockdowns or full lockdowns and stuff doesn't go back to normal quickly.